Got a team standing by to cover all of this. We are going to start with NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez. Raf, good morning. All this happened so fast. Just walk us through the events of the last 24 hours and the reaction we're already getting out of Syria this morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. So fast. The history of the Middle East rewritten at lightning speed. Bashar al-Assad and his family ruled Syria with an iron fist for more than 50 years, but their regime crumbled in less than 2 weeks in the face of this advance by Syrian rebel fighters. They burst out of northwest Syria, taking city after city. And in the early hours of Sunday morning, they entered the capital, Damascus, seizing control there. Bashar al-Assad, Syria's toppled president, fleeing to Russia along with his family. His regime really didn't put up a fight at any stage during this rebel advance. And what we've come to see is that this was a truly brittle regime that without the help of its main backers, Russia, who over the last 2 years has been distracted in Ukraine, Iran and Hezbollah, who've been weakened fighting against Israel over the last year, Assad's forces really were in no position to fight themselves. They threw down their weapons, and today the rebels are consolidating power in Damascus. As you mentioned, the rebels are led by an Islamist group. It has its origins in al-Qaeda. It is considered still to be a terrorist organization by the United States, but it is going to great lengths to try to signal to the Syrian people and to the world that it's moderated. Its leader, Mohammed al-Jolani, was in one of the historic mosques in the old city of Damascus yesterday. He's promising a government for all Syrians, that there will not be reprisals against political enemies, against minority groups, and people around the region, around the world, are watching to see as this new rebel government takes shape. Guys.
Yeah, Raf, let's talk about what could come next. I mean, there's concern, there's uncertainty, especially since the main rebel group here, they are considered a terrorist organization by the U.S. Tell us more about the president's reaction to these events and what we will see next.
So President Biden speaking at the White House yesterday saying that this is both a moment of opportunity and a moment of risk. And at the center of that balance are these rebels, the main group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. And the U.S. says that they will judge them by their actions. Take a listen.
We will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions.
Now, senior administration officials were asked yesterday whether the United States would think about removing that terror designation from HTS. They said that that is not a step that they are going to take at this time, but that they are finding ways to engage with them. It's worth saying HTS is the largest rebel group, but there are a number of other factions, some of them backed by the U.S., by American allies like Jordan, who are also playing a role in Damascus. And one of the big questions here is how these different rebel groups will work together going forward. Guys.
Raf, on top of all that, many Syrians are celebrating the downfall of the Syrian government, but Israel says it's been carrying out airstrikes there. It's even launched a ground operation. Tell us what Israel's goals are here.
Yeah, so guys, I just want to give you a little sense of the geography here. If control room can come back to me, I'll explain exactly where we're standing. We're on the Israeli-controlled side of the Golan Heights. We're looking out over southern Syria. Damascus is over the horizon. And this used to be a buffer zone with Israeli forces on one side, Syrian troops on the other. But as the Syrian regime has collapsed, Israel has moved its forces inside of Syria itself. Now, the Israeli government is saying this is a temporary measure. It is designed to prevent instability, to make sure that the conflict in Syria doesn't spill over into Israeli-controlled territory on this side of the border. Israel also, as you said, carrying out airstrikes targeting chemical weapons, biological weapons, ballistic missile facilities inside of Syria. And what the Israeli government is saying is that it is absolutely determined that these strategic weapons do not fall into the wrong hands, especially into the hands of terrorist groups operating within that broader rebel coalition.
Yeah,
Yes.
We also understand the U.S. carried out airstrikes on ISIS targets, speaking of in Syria, in the wake of this takeover. How concerned is the Biden administration that the group could take advantage of a power vacuum?
Yeah, it's a major concern, and that is exactly the term, a power vacuum. You have a lot of chaos inside of Syria right now. ISIS thrives in chaos. It thrives in areas where there are not governmental authorities. The U.S. says that one step it is taking is it's going to keep those roughly 1,000 ground troops inside of Syria. They are in a largely Kurdish-controlled area in the eastern half of the country. There's no indication that these rebels are any threat to those American forces. But as you saw, even with these whirlwind political changes going on in the capital, those American counterterrorism operations continuing in the east of the country.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.